Now listen to what Tyler the Creator just did. If you're eager to learn more about the release of his new album, Don't Tap the Glass, and discover what the most recent phase of Tyler's career is all about, don't forget to subscribe and like it. And now that Tyler the Creator has just produced one of the most significant moments in his career and the entire year in all of music, make sure to leave that like so that everyone can see the impact that this record is about to have because when it comes to Tyler the Creator's 9th project, we need to have some conversations because, well, everything about this album, from the musical canon of Tyler the Creator to the way it was released and dropped to the people and icons that Tyler has representing the record alongside inside him, are important. With the assistance of Tyler and his friend Kendrick Lamar, as well as his own idols like The Cliffs and Pharrell, this album feels like something that could only have been released in this exact moment and at that point have the impact Tyler so obviously wants it to have in this era where the musical meta has moved past the pump and dump filler trash. We can observe that people are more open to real and honest musical experiences now than they have ever been. And don't be duped now. Even if Tyler tells us not to anticipate anything or that this album is not a concept album, it yet does something revolutionary with its own notion. Tyler, the Creator, wrote and published a statement around the time this album was released. He essentially wrote a whole letter outlining how dance as an art form and idea is so fundamental to our method of expression. However, due to embarrassment, people avoid it altogether or don't do it enough. The greatest thing Tyler has ever done and the most he can do with this album is to try to revive this essential form of expression, as he says, and create an experience that compels you to keep moving. Tyler even instructs you to listen to this record by moving around in any way while giving directions on how to listen to it and by outlining his intentions in a way that very few other artists could ever do, not just in this era, but in all time. Tyler simply pushes the boundaries of how to listen to something in order to get the most out of it. And like Tyler suggested, I took a stroll before cruising about while enjoying this song. And it was incredible. I had no intention of stopping. Additionally, I can enjoy these catchy West Coast grooves by simply moving around while the summer weather is all around me. You will see right away that Tyler methodically planned out every detail, even down to the exact moment this album was released. In many respects, it seems as though Tyler was attempting to convey to us the same sense that we all experienced from the energy and vivacity of the Iger production, but without the baggage of that record, which was left at home, as Tyler explicitly stated in the album instructions. And now let's listen to Tyler's 10 songs in total. Tyler, however, is able to do just that and much more, and the fact that this album is able to encapsulate so much at once is something I want to give him credit for. Because there is still a ton of excellent rapping that sounds fantastic, even though it would feel more like Igor with a more lively and light atmosphere with an emphasis on powerful melodies on the hooks and bridges. Additionally, Tyler pays reference to Ludacris with the album Rollout statue and LL Cool J on the cover, while also referencing Busta Rhymes and mentioning Slick Rick. Considering all of this and even a few nods to J Dilla, it's clear that Tyler is attempting to broaden the scope of what hip-hop can be as an expressive genre, for which I greatly admire him. There are also numerous references to the genre's heyday. Speaking of hip-hop now, he is a part of a legacy and events that are far more significant than himself. Tyler does demonstrate that this record was created using the same collection of masterpieces that the Clips just used to create their new album, even though he did take a different turn than I believe the majority of US did. Because of the fact that they were actually featured in Tyler's Stop Playing With Me music video, which was amazing in and of itself to see Tyler alongside his heroes and even with Malice maintaining the same expression on his face. It just served to highlight how hilarious he has been throughout the entire process. Beyond these video appearances and everything else, however, Tyler saves the album's lone additional verse for his greatest idol, Pharrell Williams, on the first track, Big Poe. Now that Tyler gives P an opportunity to perform a verse, it looks as like he is reminding himself of how awesome and fly he was in the past, which simply makes you think of his, in my mind, error. There isn't another way to put it. This is very fantastic. Furthermore, it almost seems as though Pharrell is rhyming with a different version of himself because of how much Tyler has researched and studied him. Furthermore, several of the people we were hoping to hear about who were sort of fan cast ended. up not being on this program. However, you won't be upset when you listen to this record and see what it's doing because you'll understand as soon as you hear the opening track. Naturally, we are then introduced to a new Tyler the Creator character in this expansive ego. The album's vibes and atmosphere have been expertly curated to produce something that, by the end of the year, only a select few artists will be able to sit down with Tyler and claim to have produced anything even remotely comparable to this body of work. Regarding this exact concept and idea, the more I listen to this album and hear the little details, such as Baby Keem's ad-libs that reappear after being heard on songs like Chromakopia, or Tyler simply resurrecting the classic two-part song. It's at track 7 here rather than track 10. Additionally, there are little allusions and callbacks to Chromakopia songs like Tomorrow and Ratatata. Despite the instrumental storytelling, it is practically a complete circle moment in and of itself, because Tyler samples songs like Cherry Bomb in this thing while including elements from some of his earlier songs and albums. However, when you really just experience this thing and let it take you, you will realize that Tyler is once again breaking the rules of what rap can be with a record that may be his most surprising yet in many ways. This is because he pulls so much from classic hip-hop lore, whether it's the Bust a Rhyme sample or the J Dilla horn. When we take a complete look at this, we can see that Flower Boy was released on this exact day 8 years ago. From Flower Boy to Igor to Call Me If You Get Lost to Chromakopia and now to this particular record, you can actually see that Tyler's 5 albums collectively surpass the best of the majority of rappers and artists. And really, to produce a body of work with this steady caliber of excellence while maintaining such erratic degrees of originality and genuineness. Are there any other rappers whose runs in their careers you could even somewhat compare to this, aside from Outkast, Kendrick Lamar, perhaps A Tribe Called Quest, and the man who made Graduation a long time ago? Since Tyler is now so far along in his career, and the run in which each album he has released has gone platinum, gets him a larger tour, and earns him a Grammy deservedly off of nearly every one, this record is more than anything else just putting things into perspective. In a time when there are far too many scammers, Tyler is truly a master at what he does. And in all honesty, Tyler is among the best musicians of the past few decades of hip-hop, not just of this era. Because working on an experience like this behind the scenes during the biggest tour, and possibly the biggest period of his career, while on tour is pushing all of your skills into one cohesive body of work. I mean, this is a very amazing accomplishment that most rappers can never do. And to be honest, that's the reason this record is so recent. Naturally, the record has a distinct direction and features that make listening to it enjoyable, but because I'm hearing this so early, it's nearly impossible to fully comprehend what we are going through because it's something we are not as familiar with as we could be. And to be honest, after listening to this record more and more and examining the cover, which does make me think of LL Cool J and 50 Cent, it's really just the way Tyler alternates between rapping and going off there before singing some of the catchiest hooks I have ever heard from him. However, LL Cool J was the first rapper to claim himself the greatest of all time, and 50 was like a superhero when he was at the height of his powers. It almost seems like Tyler is showcasing a great deal of talent here, from the production to the spectrum of styles to the fact that Tyler wrote, produced, and arranged everything while on tour. You could practically look at this album and see Tyler performing what LL did in the past, which is essentially simply illustrating what a rap goat should look like in the time that they are in. Furthermore, Tyler has earned the right to express and maintain such at this time. Again, even if it's too early for me to attempt to rank this album in his repertoire, it was difficult enough before it was released. Actually, Tyler is just up against himself. For example, you hear Tyler and Pharrell go from rapping like crazy and flipping and busting a rhyme sample on Big Puff to Tyler creating the sexiest song he's ever had with Sugar on My Tongue, and then him going completely crazy with intense rapping and powerful instrumentals on a song like Stop Playing With Me. As a side note, it was really awesome when Tyler released the video with footage of both LeBron James and Maverick Carter. Additionally, it was very amazing to watch Tyler and Braun together. Additionally, I believe this did a fantastic job of just establishing the visual language and ceiling Tyler is aiming for. All in all, you wind up with an album that effortlessly and endlessly shifts tones repeatedly, solely because of the emotionality of the vibes rather than the plot or anything else of the sort. Once more, the one thing that everyone ought to take away from this, and if they aren't, they could be misinterpreting it, is that Tyler the Creator is a master at work. Furthermore, I doubt that any musician in the world now can even come close to matching him, with the exception of Kendrick Lamar. Because Tyler is a rapper, but more significantly for his abilities, he is also a singer, producer, composer, and curator. Tyler truly has a talent for creating music that allows him to make the most of every little detail in a way that no one else can match. Because Tyler really does flex the way we see him on this album, and he does it all while making every single second of these 29 minutes seem completely different from the others. Again, what you should take away from this record is that Tyler is at the pinnacle of the full musical experience, which is filled with emotions. And now listen, because it will have that effect, we will go over this album again, and I will go into more detail about it here. I believe that is already evident. Therefore, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. Meanwhile, we are simply taking in Tyler's most recent brilliant creation. Since Tyler truly gave us an album that is this fun on all levels, I'm going to go back to moving around and listening to his most recent work. In my opinion, this is a gift to the music industry that everyone should take advantage of. Given that Tyler released an album that is unique even among his discography, it's time to acknowledge his greatness and call it what it is. Again, when you get to the stage we're witnessing here, Tyler isn't simply a current superstar or even among the greatest musicians working now. However, when you consider the lineage he is working in and the nearly 10-year run he has been on, this has essentially given us straight classics. Ultimately, we just must include Tyler in the discussion for the greatest hip-hop artist of all time, not only in the discussions he has already participated in, and not just with Kendrick Lamar. Now, I would honestly say that this record has elevated him to a new level, and he has officially arrived at this point, which he richly deserves. Now that I've covered everything, please let me know. What initial impressions do you have of Don't Tap the Glass? Which songs are your favorites? Which moments are your favorites? And what do you believe this record will ultimately accomplish in the long run? I am eager to hear your thoughts on all of this. Now, if you watched the entire video, please remember to subscribe and like it. It greatly aids me. Check out the suggested video if you want to see how Drake just embarrassed himself and got into a fight with DJ Academics just before this, which demonstrates how hip-hop is evolving because the losers are all making themselves look worse.